Kaiki Deshiu is a conman. He is the personification of evil and trickery. Kaiki Deshiu is a middle-aged man, a ghostbuster, and a goofy uncle. Both are equally valid, right? Both are the truth. Or could it be that they are both a lie? Well, truth and lies aren't that simple, not at all. Here's a fun fact: Kaiki Deshiu was first name dropped in the Nadeko snake arc during a conversation between Araragi and Kanbaru. Now, some of you probably accepted that as the truth without even a second thought. Some of you might have said, didn't know that. And some others might have called me out as wrong, as that was in fact a lie. Or well, for the people that accepted it as the truth without second thought, to them it is the truth, as the truth is just the thing that is easiest for people to accept. If you had only watched episode 1 of Nisei Monogatari, then it is true that Kaiki is the personification of evil. If you had only watched Hana Monogatari, then it is true that Kaiki is a goofy meat-loving uncle. See, doesn't that make sense? Isn't that the truth? Well yeah, it is the truth, as that's what you have chosen to believe. Did you not even stop to think that I once again lied? As Kaiki isn't even in episode 1 of Nisei Monogatari, he doesn't appear to episode 3. Now let me ask you all another question. Is Kaiki a good guy or a bad guy? It's a simple question, right? There's only two answers, either he is good or he is bad. But which is the truth to you? If you think he's a good guy, then please skip ahead to this time here, and if you think he's a bad guy, then let's continue on from here. Kaiki is the main antagonist of the Karen B arc, and is kind of the first proper antagonist in the series, as well Monogatari isn't really a series that has many antagonists, within Bakkei Monogatari especially, our protagonists themselves being as much the antagonists as anyone else. And since by nature an antagonist stands in opposition to the protagonist, then if our protagonist is a selfless hero of justice, then our antagonist should be a selfish villain of evil. And in a way he is, at least in the eyes of Araragi. As just look at his introduction scene, he is just oozing with malice. Now I don't often analyse the stylistic choices and direction of anime, as I'm frankly not too good at it. However, in this case I can, and that's kind of the point. The sky is red, the colour of blood and evil. A river divides the two as they are opposites, and due to the sky the river almost appears to be blood. The leafless trees look dead and eerie, matching with the kanji for ki in Kaiki's name, which means dead tree. And what is the opposite of a dead tree? A sapling, which in this case is Araragi, as they are opposites, they are justice versus evil. This whole scene is topped off with the kanji for threat literally appearing in Kaiki's eye, and that being as obvious as it is kind of the point, as this whole scene, even to an untrained eye, screams nothing but evil and danger. It's blatant, obvious, over-exaggerated, like a cartoon villain, like an embodiment of evil that cannot exist in real life, an evil aura so vast that you can't ignore it. As that is how Araragi sees him, and sees the world for that matter, as black and white, and Kaiki is black, he is evil, no nuance, he's just evil. This is further shown when Araragi goes to confront Kaiki about the middle school charms. Oh yeah, I should probably mention I'm now talking about not Kaomi, but about Karen, so for the ease of communication I refer to her by her given name as Karen, meaning burning compassion. Just as Kaiki is unyielding evil, Karen is ever burning justice. That is the reason the room in which they meet is black and white, with no grey between them. There's a hard border between the black and the white. As to both Kaomi and Karen, that is what Kaiki is. He's evil, nothing more than that. There is no nuance. After all, he scams kids out of their money, he cons people, hurts people, and loves nothing but money. He's a stereotypical nasty guy down to the letter, so yeah, in truth he is a bad guy. He is an evil guy. Or is he? Kaiki is a good guy. It may sound a bit strange at first, but he is. At least he tries to be. As said by Ononoke in Koi Monogatari, Kaiki does try to help people. It doesn't happen often, but he does try. He tried to save Senjougahra by shutting down the cult her mother was a member of, but all that led to was her mother joining an even bigger cult. He tried to do good and just made the situation worse. Even if Kaiki denies it, all he is doing is lying, as lying comes naturally to him. He lies and says that he was just trying to get chump change and destroy a rival, as he didn't want to admit to himself that he had tried to save someone and failed. As sad as it is to say, Kaiki was born to con, born to lie and hurt others. It comes naturally to him and he is good at it. But on the flip side, he is bad when it comes to saving people. However, even so, he does sometimes help. Kaiki, at least in my interpretation, is fully aware of how bad he is at helping people. He knows from experience and so feels reluctant to help out of the fear that he will fail again. However, he still wants to help, and as shown in Koi Monogatari, he uses logic to convince himself to help, to have a valid reason to help others, other than his own personal feelings. As if he removes his personal feelings and makes it just a job, then he isn't technically helping someone, right? And then he might succeed. And he did. He saved Sengoku, he finally saved someone. So maybe it isn't that he is incapable of helping others, it's perhaps more that he just couldn't save Senjougahra. Much like how Araragi couldn't save Sengoku but could save Senjougahra, Kaiki couldn't save Senjougahra but could save Sengoku. So case closed, he's a good guy, right? Not quite. Good and bad aren't black and white, no matter what the Araragi siblings may think. It's a spectrum, there is grey between the black and the white. Kaiki isn't good and he isn't bad, so why can't he be somewhere in the middle? If we view him from just Hana Monogatari, then he is neither evil nor good. He is kind of in the middle, he's just a regular old uncle who treats Kanbaru to meat and gives her some advice. He isn't doing anything malicious, but it's not like he is saving Kanbaru either. He just treats her to food and tells her to rely on him. It's hardly what I would call saving. So there you go, 3 truths. It's true that he is a bad guy, it's true that he is a good guy, it's true that he is a normal guy. So which do you pick to be true? What matters here is your perspective. Kaiki is a specialist, right? He is called that many times, but what is he a specialist in? Is he a specialist in conning and trickery? Or is it in oddities and the supernatural? Is he clueless about queer diseases as he calls them, or is he fully aware of oddities? I think both forms of thinking are valid, but I'll ask you to decide for yourself. So if you believe him to know about oddities, then skip to this time here, and if you think he is clueless, then let's go on from here. Kaiki, as he says himself, doesn't know anything about oddities, he just happens to know people that do. Which makes sense, a lot of his friends are specialists, and although he calls himself a ghostbuster, it isn't like he's actually doing anything akin to what Oshino or Gaian does. He simply knows of the supernatural, and people that practice it. But he himself has no actual knowledge, he is a fake specialist then, a fake ghostbuster who doesn't know anything about oddities. And a lot of things kind of back this up. Firstly, he refers to oddities as queer diseases, and secondly, well, there's not really a second point. Kaiki says himself that he doesn't believe in oddities, but preys on those that do, but this is heavily contradicted. I mean, for one, he was aware of the monkey paw and was able to sense that Kanbaru hadn't been fully taken over by the devil, even later gifting her the devil's head. Secondly, he is friends with Ononoke, who is an oddity that he helped to create. He met Sengoku and at the time Oddity, commenting on the Ouroboros they played Cat's Cradle with, full on acknowledging it as such. He knew of Kishshot, Excella, Arai and Heart and the Blader, choosing to visit town after rumours of her went away, and full on met her later on with full knowledge she was a vampire. He was aware Araragi was a vampire, sensing Shinobu in his shadow. He recognised Suki as a phoenix enough to sell it as information to Kagane. He was tasked with defeating Kishshot in the Kabuki Monogatari timeline. He full on creates fake oddities which are still oddities, as all oddities are in a way fake. He knows of Episode's existence, and he's extremely physically gifted, which is similar to how both Oshino and Kagane are often depicted. So yeah, there's not much evidence you can use to say he is clueless, or even that he doesn't believe, as well he is friends with an oddity and almost got killed by an oddity, and I don't know, he helped to create an oddity? Sure, he doesn't have much practical or specialist knowledge when it comes to oddities, but to say he isn't aware of them is just plain wrong. So why does he say he doesn't know much about them? Or that he doesn't believe in them? Well, it's because, as said by Namachi, it is rare for him to ever reveal more than half of what he knows at any time, as he is a con man, and deceiving people comes with the job. Araragi Kaomi, as said before, is presented to be a parallel to Kaiki. This is best shown in their introduction, with the river splitting them apart. However, although they are parallels, is this because they are the same or because they are different? I think thinking either is valid, both are true from a certain point of view. So once more viewer, let me ask you a question. Are Araragi and Kaiki alike or different? If you believe the former, then skip ahead to this time here, and if not, then I guess keep on watching from here. Kaiki is pure evil. He is a villain who preys on young girls. Araragi is a selfless hero who helps save young girls. Kaiki tried to save Senjougahra and failed. Araragi succeeded in saving Senjougahra. Kaiki loves money. Araragi spent most of Bakkei Monogatari in debt. Kaiki is a coward. Araragi would charge forwards into danger without a second thought. We can really go on all day if you want, as the two are strikingly different, but is the opposite not also true? Are they not also very much alike? Both made an effort to save Senjougahra, both are easily deceived, both care for people, both honour their promises. So once more, we come to an impasse. We meet on middle ground, as why does there have to be one truth? Can't both views be valid? In a way then, Kaiki and Araragi are even better foils for one another, as they are similar in so many ways. But due to their differences, they walk completely different paths and hold differing ideals. So the easiest truth to come to then is that they're both just men that Senjougahra happened to fall in love with. Senjougahra loved Kaiki, I think that is pretty definitive, however was the reverse also true? By now I think you all get the gist of it, so if you think he did love her then skip to this time here, and if you think it was one-sided and he didn't, then keep watching from here. Kaiki obviously had some kind of feelings for Senjougahra, be them romantic or not. He actively tried to save her of his own volition, but as we all know, he failed rather miserably. He didn't save Senjougahra and her family, he just made it worse, leading to the collapse of her entire family. However, why did his feelings have to be romantic? Could he not have just wanted to help a suffering girl? He does have compassion, he isn't cold and cruel all the time. So is it not possible that he just wanted to help her as he felt sorry for her? Or the way I interpret it, that he was making himself feel sorry for her. Kaiki loves money, as money can buy anything and money is not irreplaceable. In a way, a lot of what he does is driven by money. So is it not possible here that Kaiki just wanted money and merely lied to himself that he cared for Senjougahra in order to be more able to obtain money by helping her? It's a very real possibility. He lies to himself a lot and has to convince himself through logic so that he can take action. Say, perhaps in order to better complete his job and to better gain money, he merely lied to himself that he cared for her. But that is just one possible truth. Another is that Kaiki loves Senjougahra. It's not a bad truth, it makes sense. Take Koi Monogatari, where he helped her out for a very little amount of money in the grand scheme of things. And why did he do that? Well, he convinced himself it's for the benefit of Kanbaru, but this is just him lying to himself. Maybe he's justifying this to himself so that he can act on his feeling without feeling that that is what he's doing. He lies about his feelings and covers them up with logic so he can exercise them with ease. I mean, he agrees to meet with her in Issei Monogatari despite knowing it was her, and why did he do that? He didn't need to do it. If he didn't, there would be no consequences, however, he did. And maybe that is because he wants, or still does care for her, or more likely, he lied to himself saying that it was necessary to confront them before they got the police involved or ruined his business scheme in order to act on his feelings without having to directly act on them. I mean, Koi Monogatari may well just be Kaiki trying to help Kanbaru, or trying to make himself feel better about himself, or it could be that he cares for Senjougahra and he just wants to help her out, and if the latter is true, then maybe it's due to feelings of love. Koi Monogatari does mean love story after all. Kaiki is a conman, that is an undeniable truth. As well, it's easier to accept he is a conman than that he isn't. However, is he a good conman, or is he a bad one? As with the right arguments you can find either or more believable, and so can see either as the truth. If you think he is a good conman, then skip to this time here, and if you think the truth is instead that he is a bad conman, then continue from here. Kaiki is a conman by trade, so you would think he is good at it. And well, you're right, he is a conman by trade, but as Kaiki himself says, he's a conman who preys on those who believe in crazy stuff like oddities. He preys on the weak, the vulnerable, the stupid. So maybe it isn't that he's a bad conman, just that he doesn't need to be very good to con those he targets. As well, think about it, he targets middle school girls as they are easy to deceive. Why bother conning adults where effort and skill is required when you can instead con kids? And there is plenty of evidence for the fact that Kaiki isn't as smart as he lets on. For one, he didn't consider that the warning letter could have been slipped under his door, immediately thinking someone had entered his room. And secondly, he tried to trick Sengoku by telling her Araragi was hit by a car, while full well knowing that Araragi is a vampire who is quasi-immortal and has almost died multiple times to Sengoku over the last few months. These things considered, it's not too unreasonable to come to the conclusion that he isn't the best conman in the world. And that's fine, as he doesn't need to be the best conman, as he's only human and humans often make dumb and stupid mistakes. That said, Kaiki is a very good conman. He conned an entire cult into disbanding, which is pretty impressive I must say, and well, it is his job, and he makes a living off of it. And well, he managed to even con a god. Wait, no, he didn't con a god. He did defeat a god, but that wasn't through conning or lying, it was through simply telling the truth. As a good conman isn't just someone who lies, they must also sprinkle in some truth. And even the best conman is still a conman, a person who manipulates and takes advantage of the weak to get by. So yeah, Kaiki may well be a good conman, but a conman has never been anything particularly glamorous to begin with. So far we've explored multiple different truths concerning Kaiki Deshiu. Is the true Kaiki a good conman? Is the true Kaiki not evil but a saviour? However, on a more narrative level, I want to ask the simple question of whether he is a good antagonist. Is it true that he is a good antagonist, or true that he is a bad one? For the former, skip ahead to this point here, and for the latter, let's proceed. Kaiki is the main antagonist of the Karen B arc, but he isn't so much an active antagonist, he is reactive at best, but even that's not exactly correct. Sure, he was responsible for Sengoku's snake, but it wasn't directly or targeted. Sure, he was responsible for Karen's bee, but that was in self-defense as she barged into his office and declared she would punch him. He isn't actively going out of his way to hurt anyone or oppose our protagonists, he's just trying to make money with his little charm job, and if anyone gets hurt in the process, well, that's just bad luck. If not for Karen actively seeking him out, Araragi may well never have even gotten involved with Kaiki at all. They would have met at Kanbaru's house and that would be it. So doesn't this make him a bad antagonist, as he is just reactionary at best and doesn't really oppose Araragi in any way? He's just trying to conduct business and well, Karen got in his way. I mean, his defeat is nothing more than an anticlimax. They ask him to leave and he does, as he's just a man, a regular old man, hardly a worthy antagonist for a quasi-vampire. Kaiki is a good antagonist though, because he is an anticlimactic antagonist. The brilliance of his character in Nisei Monogatari is that he is a fake Nisei. He is depicted as a great evil and sinister villain, but he is just a man who cons people. That's it. Araragi's great villain is just a man who scams little girls for money. But this doesn't make him a bad antagonist, as being dangerous, being strong and having strong ideals aren't the only things that make an antagonist great. In this case, what makes Kaiki great is that he challenges Araragi's perspective. For the whole of Nisei Monogatari, Araragi goes on about how justice isn't for kids, how real evil isn't something a kid can deal with, that it isn't all a game. However, he is just being a hypocrite when he tells Karen this, as he sees Kaiki just like that. He sees him as pure evil, something that just can't exist in the world. He sees himself as justice and Kaiki as evil, but by doing so he's acting like just as much of a child as he accuses Karen of being. As things aren't black and white, and there is no great evil. He was conned in a way by Kaiki, conned into thinking Kaiki was a genuine threat. But he wasn't, he was a fake. A man who would back down when threatened and leave if it meant avoiding violence. Araragi fought Karen in an epic brawl in order to prove to her the power of true strength and justice, and then set off like a hero to finish off the final boss. But that was foolish of him, as there was no final boss. Araragi gained some self-perspective because of Kaiki and realised his own foolishness in a way, something which is pivotal to his character. As well, it's not like he creates an oddity to criticise himself in order to gain some self-perspective or anything. So yeah, by being a fake and by not only challenging but outright shattering Araragi's preconceived view, Kaiki acts to help him move along his character arc, and so acts as a perfect antagonist, as antagonists are designed to help the protagonist grow, and to help them grow through struggle. Even if in this case the struggle was non-existent, as it was the lack of any struggle that made Araragi grow, and it is this fact that made Kaiki the fake such a brilliant antagonist. Here's a question, viewer: what is the last appearance of Kaiki in the series? Maybe I should rephrase that. Which order do you consume the series in? As in the anime, his last appearance is in Hana Monogatari, but in the light novels it is within Koi Monogatari. So which do you consider the true order? Which do you consider the true last appearance of Kaiki Deshiu in the series? If you think the light novel order is the truth, and that his last appearance is in Koi Monogatari, then I'd like to ask you to jump to this time here. However, if you subscribe to the anime order instead, and think his last appearance is in Hana Monogatari, then keep on watching from here. Hana Monogatari, the 7th part of the series by light novel order and the 10th in the anime, it's a story about flowers and about a young lady called Senjougahra. She is the daughter of Guy and To, and who was one of Toei's closest friends? That was Kaiki Deshiu. Kaiki then is like an uncle to Kanbaru, a close friend of her mother. And that is exactly how he appears in this part. He treats Kanbaru to meat, wishes for her to grow up big and strong, he offers her advice, and wears a goofy apron. As Kaiki isn't the personification of evil, at least not in the eyes of Kanbaru. To her, the truth of his identity is that he's a friend of her mother who likes meat a bit too much. And isn't that in a way a very fitting end to his character? His last appearance in the series is not as a villain, as the antagonist, not as a con man, the profession he's defined by Nisei Monogatari. He's just an old guy who is treating his friend's daughter to meat. It's quite poetic and speaks a lot for the series' overall themes of perspective. From Araragi's perspective, he is evil, but from Kanbaru's he is not, even if she tries to think he is. They each have a different perspective and so believe in different truths. The climax of Karen B of Araragi and Senjougahra standing up to Kaiki is not a fight nor an epic showdown of wit. It is an anti-climax in all definitions of the word, as he just gives up, as he isn't some evil mastermind villain. He is a grown man who cons middle school kids for chump change. He is just a guy, just a person, just a regular old human. As a human defined by something as strong as evil just can't realistically exist. Kaiki may seem evil to some, but he is still a regular person. He loves money and meat, he has old classmates, he has a senpai and he has friends. Be them a living doll or the mother of Kanbaru. So what better way is there to show that he is a normal old human than by showing him not as a con man but as an uncle? As that is just as much a part of him as being a con man is, just as how Araragi being Senjougahra's lover is just as much a part of him as being Shinobu's sometimes master, sometimes seventh partner. It's a perfect last appearance as it shows him in a very different light, and hammers home the simple fact that he is just a guy with priorities and interests apart from conning and being evil. Another fun thing to note is that by the anime order we have already watched Koi Monogatari and know Kaiki to have died. However, if he is here in Hana Monogatari then I guess he didn't. As he lied, but we only know that because of Hana Monogatari. If you finished Koi Monogatari and hadn't seen or read Hana Monogatari, then you could logically assume he was indeed dead. So when in Hana Monogatari he is revealed to be alive, the lie is exposed, and that is just as symbolic as the fact he told a lie to begin with. As Kaiki's lies are always exposed, as he isn't a perfect con man, people see through his lies and his lies are exposed, which is what Hana Monogatari does to us, the viewer. It exposes his lie from Koi Monogatari. His epic last moments, dying after finally saving someone, is revealed to be a fabrication, as he isn't some grand evil that has to die, nor some grand saviour who dies once his work is done. He just keeps on living his life after that, same as always, as a normal guy. So yeah, he may have tried to con you, the viewer, into thinking he was dead, but that was exposed. As he isn't a perfect liar, no one is. He sometimes slips up, and that is normal as he is just human, and humans make mistakes, which is what is so profound. His appearance in Hana Monogatari then is just a more extended and elaborated version of his scene in Tsuki Phoenix, a scene which shows the idea of perspective and of people not being defined by one thing almost perfectly. However, aside from all this, there is another brilliant reason for why this last appearance of Kaiki works so well, as it also mirrors another scene from Nisei Monogatari, that being the confrontation itself. The scene, as already said, is an anticlimax, and in a way isn't Kaiki's appearance in Hana Monogatari also an anticlimax? He is the series' best antagonist after all, and so for his last appearance, wouldn't on paper it seem anticlimactic for him to show up, eat some meat and then vanish to never appear again? Yeah, it is, and it's meant to be, as it mirrors Nisei Monogatari, in the fact that Kaiki is a coward and not a fighter, that the conclusion to his stories are always anticlimaxes. So if Hana Monogatari is to come straight after Koi Monogatari like in the anime, then we get an even greater piece of parallel and mirroring. In Karen B, we enter a big Kaiki focused storyline with a confrontation between Kaiki and our protags, one which ends not with violence but with a simple talk and an agreement, a deal. In Koi Monogatari, we end a big Kaiki focused storyline with a confrontation between Kaiki and Sengoku, one which ends not with violence but with a simple talk and an agreement, a deal. Then in Tsuki Phoenix we meet Kaiki for one scene where he offers some advice, shows he is just a normal guy and then leaves without taking any actions. Then in Hana Monogatari we meet Kaiki for one scene where he offers some advice, shows he is just a normal guy and then leaves without taking any actions. They perfectly parallel each other, don't you think? And that's pretty cool, as it speaks to another part of Kaiki's character, the part which is repetitive. Kaiki loves money, and so how does he spend his life? By making money. He's always conning, moving from town to town, conning and then leaving. The same thing over and over. He cons and cons over and over, and the one time he tried to do good instead of bad, he failed miserably, so of course Kaiki went back to his usual ways of a repetitive conning life. So this parallel between Kaiki's appearances in Nisei Monogatari and his appearances in the second season may well also be symbolic of his overall life as a repetitive man who never ends up anywhere new. So if you subscribe to the anime order of Monogatari, then this, I'm sure, is your truth. However, for those who follow the light novel order, this is but a lie, not their truth. So why not talk about that next? As well, those light novel order people should be joining us in just a second in 3, 2, 1. Welcome light novel order purists. The anime order lot have had their fun, so let's not leave you all out, and now discuss why Koi Monogatari is the true last appearance of Kaiki in the series, and why it is such a symbolic ending. Koi Monogatari overall is a part defined by lies. We think it's a story about Senjougahra, but then we are bamboozled and the story is actually from Kaiki's point of view. The story starts with a falsehood by luring you in with a false pretense, and it ends in a lie as well, as Kaiki dies, or does he? Well no he doesn't, as we've already read Hana Monogatari at this point, so why does he still lie knowing we already know the truth? Because the truth is just what's easiest to believe, and it is easy to believe that Kaiki's story would end in such a manner, so easy to believe that you may even forget that he is obviously alive a few months down the timeline. Kaiki lives his life by lying, so he ends his life, well his life in this story, with a lie as well. Koi Monogatari acts to show another side of Kaiki, as said before, his side as a saviour, much like how Nisei Monogatari shows him from the perspective of being an evil villain, and Hana Monogatari shows him as a goofy uncle. Koi Monogatari shows him as a wannabe saviour and a person trying to save someone. He tries to help others, which contrasts his first appearance in Nisei Monogatari, where he is actively hurting people. In this way, Hana Monogatari, sandwiched in the middle, acts as a middle ground. We see over these three parts the many sides of Kaiki. We see him as an evil conman in Nisei Monogatari, we see him as a normal guy and an uncle in Hana Monogatari, and then as a saviour in Koi Monogatari. Hana Monogatari then acts as a buffer to bridge these two seemingly contradictory sides of Kaiki's character. However, one thing that stays consistent throughout all of these parts is that Kaiki lies. He lies in Nisei Monogatari, he lies in Hana Monogatari, and he lies in Koi Monogatari. So of course the ending of his story, his last appearance in the entire story, is a lie. A big grandiose lie, but as Senjougahra says in Monogatari Shiro, the easiest lies to believe are the biggest ones, and lies that you believe become the truth. So in a way then, Kaiki did die, as his death was believable and the truth is just the thing that is easiest to believe. So there you go. If you think the anime order is the true order, I think I've given significant reasons to why Hana Monogatari is a fitting ending for Kaiki. And if you think the light novel order is the true order, I think I've given significant reasons to why Koi Monogatari is a fitting ending for Kaiki. However, neither of those parts are the true ending to Kaiki's character for me, as Kaiki appears once more in the series after both Hana Monogatari and Koi Monogatari. And no, it isn't in the off-season or in the monster season, it's in Kayomi Wind from Kayomi Monogatari. I reckon a few of you didn't know this, but Kayomi Monogatari is the last appearance of Kaiki in the series, in a scene that takes place in the timeline during Nisei Monogatari, a direct continuation of the meeting between Kaiki and Araragi in Mr. Donut. Now, is there any profound meaning to this last appearance? No, not really, it's mundane and normal, as like I've been saying a lot, Kaiki is just a normal guy. But this last appearance hits a bit harder than that. As from whose perspective are we seeing Kaiki? From Araragi's. Araragi with his own eyes is seeing Kaiki not as a conman, but as a normal guy. Which is very different from both Hana Monogatari and Koi Monogatari, as in the former we are from Kanbaru's perspective, and in the latter we are from Kaiki's own. The first appearance of Kaiki in the series is outside Kanbaru's house, where through Araragi's eyes we see him as the personification of evil, and then what is his last appearance? Is Kaiki in Mr. Donut, where through Araragi's eyes we see him as a normal guy. As he is neither evil nor normal, he is just a human, a mixture of good and evil, a human who looks different to everyone due to everyone's differing perspectives. That at least is what I find easiest to believe, and so that is what I see as the truth. Kaiki, as I think I've made painfully clear in this video, isn't a character that can be viewed in one way. It's very fitting actually, considering his first appearance in Nisei Monogatari was to hammer home the idea that perspectives can differ changing on the truths you believe in. If you think he was in love with Senjougahra, that's valid. If you think he was a bad con man, that is valid. At the end of the day, what I and all of us are doing is merely interpreting a work. We are analysing on our own, with our own preconceived notions, perspectives and truths. You can believe whatever you want about a fictional character and consider that the truth if that's what you want to do, as there is no objective truth in this world. Truth after all is a term we humans created ourselves and gave a definition to ourselves. Who is the true Kaiki then, and what is the true Kaiki then? Are things that can never be truly answered. You can speak what you believe to be true to the world, but the truth will never be everyone's truth. As well to this day, some people believe the world to be flat and that the moon landing was faked. As there will never be one objective truth, we can only believe in what is easiest for us as an individual to accept. So if you find it easiest to accept Kaiki as pure evil due to his introductory scene, then fair enough. However, the truth I think nearly all of us can come to agree on is that Kaiki Deshiu is a great character and that he is the true best girl in Monogatari. Okay, damn, that might be the longest scripted video I've ever made, and I must admit, that was a lot of work. But I at least think it came out really well, and if you have made it this far, then thank you, and tell me down below, did you like the whole which truth do you believe in gimmick? I'm thinking about adding some more character specific gimmicks to my future analysis videos, so if you want to see that, then tell me down below. Comment of the week comes from Cat Passness, who like me is a fellow Mutsu simp. If you have any opinions on Kaiki or Monogatari as a whole, then tell me in the comment section down below. And if you have a suggestion for a future video, then again the comment section is funny enough down below. Also don't forget to check out my Twitter at saviour for channel updates and just general chatter, and my DMs are always open if you want to chat to me directly. Or check out my Instagram at saviour_cosplay to see my cosplays or random anime merchandise. Also if you want to support me further, check out my book Gang Fluid Justice, available on Amazon.com. So with all that said and done, I've been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I am signing out. Stay safe everyone.